Researchers once gave people a simple choice. Sit alone in a quiet room with only your thoughts for 15 minutes, or press a button that gives you a real electric shock. A startling number of people chose the shock. Some pressed it again and again. They would genuinely rather feel pain than sit quietly with themselves. Let that sink in for a second. And before you judge them, you do a tiny version of this every single day. There is a pause in a conversation, maybe 4 seconds of silence, and your whole body quietly tenses up. So you blurt out anything, a random comment about the weather, a fake little laugh, anything to kill the quiet. So here's the strange question. Why does nothing feel so threatening? Why does a few seconds of silence set off every alarm in your head? It turns out silence is never empty to your brain. It rushes to fill the gap, usually with the worst option available. Start with that quiet room. Being alone with your own mind sounds relaxing. For most people, it is the opposite. The psychologist Timothy Wilson ran that shock experiment, and the results stunned even him. With nothing to do, the mind does not go quiet. It starts digging up worries, old memories, and unfinished problems. Silence pulls back the curtain on whatever you have been busy not thinking about. And that can be uncomfortable, so we keep the noise on. Music, scrolling, podcasts, chatter, a constant soundtrack so the curtain never opens. But the discomfort is not only about being alone, it gets even sharper around other people. Because in a conversation, silence is not just quiet, it is information, and your brain reads it as bad news. The researcher Namke Kodenberg found that a silence as short as 4 seconds makes people feel rejected and anxious. 4 seconds, that is all it takes for your brain to whisper, something is wrong, they do not like you said the wrong thing. When the conversation flows, you feel connected and accepted. When it suddenly stops, that feeling of belonging wobbles. And that wobble is not random, it is ancient. For your ancestors, being part of the conversation meant being part of the group. Being part of the group meant survival. So being met with silence, being ignored, was a quiet signal that you might be on your way out of the tribe. Your brain still carries that wiring, so a harmless pause at dinner can trigger a tiny primal flicker of rejection. And because silence is so ambiguous, your brain does the worst possible thing with it. It fills the blank with a story, and an anxious brain almost never writes a happy one. The silence might just mean the other person is tired, or thinking, or simply comfortable, but you assume it is about you. Now put it together, and the fear of silence starts to make a lot of sense. Alone, silence forces you to face your own mind. With others, it feels like a sign you are being rejected. Either way, your brain decides that doing literally anything is safer than sitting still in the quiet. But here is the reframe that changes how the silence feels. Silence is not actually rejection, it is just the absence of noise. Your brain is the one adding the scary subtitles. The 4 seconds that feel like an eternity to you, the other person usually did not even notice them. And being able to sit in silence with someone without panicking is actually a sign of deep comfort. Think about it. The people you can be totally quiet with are usually the people you are closest to. You do not fill silence with your best friend. You just exist next to them. That is the goal, not the threat. So, what do you do the next time a silence makes your skin crawl? First, just let it sit. Count to 4. Notice that the world does not actually end. Most of the time the other person fills it, or a better thought arrives, precisely because you did not panic. Second, when you are alone, try sitting with the quiet for just 1 minute before reaching for your phone. It is uncomfortable at first, but that is where your actual thoughts, the good ones, finally get room to show up. The goal is not to fear the silence, it is to slowly make it a place you can rest in instead of run from. Because that empty quiet you keep running from is not your enemy. It is just a room your brain forgot how to sit in. And like any room, you can learn to feel at home there again. So tell me down in the comments, are you someone who needs constant noise or someone who craves the quiet? And if your own brain quietly working against you is this fascinating, you already know where you are. Stick around.